In March 2012, the Vietnamese movie Canh Ba Ba or Turtle Soup, produced by the Yeti Group, hit a short film corner at the 65th Cannes Film Festival. This was among the best films produced in a 48-hour film project in Vietnam in 2011 and captured third prize for the best film category at Filmapalooza 2011, the final of the 48-hour film project festival held in New Mexico, USA. Team leader Charing Tashi Yatham took a unique approach when making the film, bringing the movie an honorable mention for Writing Award.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Talk Vietnam. In our episode this week, we'll get to meet with the film director. His name is Surin Galtang, and he'll be sharing with us more about his winning film as well as other films that he has made that features the life as well as the culture of the Vietnamese people. So please join me in welcoming Surin.
Thank you.
Hi Surin, how are you today?
Great, and thank you for having me over.
Thank you for taking time off. I know you flew from Ho Chi Minh City out to Hanoi to join our show, so thank you very much for taking the time. Congratulations on your successive kind of awards, as well as congratulations with your a film that has traveled all over the place. And tell us about how you feel about the success of the Canh Ba Ba or the Turtle Soup.
Thank you. It's a very small, simple film. So I really didn't expect much from it. So I was also very surprised that after we finished the film, that it went on to win the awards.
Wonderful. Yes, well, Canh Ba Ba won, just a recap for our audiences now, it won 7 awards at the 48-hour film project in Ho Chi Minh City. After that, it went to the United States in the Filmapalooza festival, and then there it won the 3rd prize as well as the honorable mention for writing at the finale for the 2011 48-hour film project globally. That's amazing. So now, before we talk more about the film, I'm sure the viewers are very anxious to see the film itself. So let's take a glimpse in the following.
Cũng đùa quá. Tại sao người ta làm như vậy?
Ê, hai nhóc, đi.
Mình phải cứu nó. Nhưng mà bằng cách nào? Mình sẽ chạm nó. Rồi mình sẽ làm được. Bây giờ tụi mình kế hoạch thôi. Rồi xuống mình. Mày vẽ hết mấy cái đó sao? Mày làm họa sĩ lúc nào? Còn những thứ mày chưa biết lắm. Mình nên ở điểm X và để đến được chỗ này thì phải qua kẻ nguy hiểm này. Nhưng làm sao mình có thể qua được kẻ nguy hiểm này? Để nghĩ coi mà đi theo lối này bên phải chọc ổng bằng mấy cái tên xấu xí và khi ổng gượt mày thì ta sẽ biết sao nó quất con người. Nếu ổng bắt tao thì sao? Đừng nhát vậy, ổng sẽ không bắt được mày. Tao sẽ chặt mấy con rùa rồi chạy lối này, tụi mình sẽ đặt chạy bên bờ sông. Cứu rồi. Hãy đợi chiến hành. Đồ quái vật một mắt.
Ranh con, lại đây tao biểu. Đồ quắc con. Làm gì đó nhỏ, còn đâu mà tìm. Đồ ăn cắp, mày tên gì?
Ngọc.
Cái gì Ngọc?
Tên Võ Ngọc. Mấy người không biết xấu hổ hay giết một con người hay sao?
làm gì con rùa tao vậy?
Người ta cũng giữ cho mình nữa rồi. Hay là mình đi giữ luôn rồi.
Now, tell a little bit about, as we've seen, it's very simple but very meaningful. It's about two disadvantaged kids out in the streets seeing a turtle and then rescuing it before it becomes soup, basically. How did this idea come about?
When we got the genre for the film, heist as our genre, and we thought of a lot of different ideas. When people think of heist, they think of stealing jewelry or bank robbery or something like that. And then I thought, it was personally in my own life. Of course, I never imagined stealing jewelry or robbing banks, but I know that whenever I go to one of those markets or restaurants where you see those live animals, and I always sort of fantasized about just grabbing one or two animals and just running with them. so I always have you always imagine sort of this scenario of this chef and all these waiters chasing me around the city. So that was basically the whole basis of the story.
Well, you had only 48 hours to carry this idea out. Tell us a little bit about this process. How did you develop this story that originally came from kind of something very personal of yours?
From the moment we picked the topic, we had a very short time. I think we got home around 10 o'clock from the festival, and then I started writing. And so I had the story by 3 o'clock, and I was not really thinking. I was just writing whatever comes out of my mind. And then I started calling my assistant and started looking for actors and all these things. So just a moment before we started actually shooting, I realized that, oh my God, what have I done? That I've actually written a story about kids and animals, which you're not supposed to do in film. Especially
really?
In the
Why?
Because they always say don't work with kids or animals because they're very difficult to control.
Exactly,
So,
and especially if you have like a very short time span.
Yes, and then we just went with it because there's no time to change anything.
Well, I think what was very impressive about the film, what made it kind of successful, were the kid actors. Tell us how did you find them? I mean, you said they were actual street kids, yes?
Yes. Yes. So my assistant found the two kids, and they are really from the streets, and they go around selling candies and chewing gums on the streets, and very sad family story, broken families, and but the two kids, they're the sweetest. They're so happy. They're just playing the whole day long, and they're laughing and giggling through the entire shoot. So,
that's the good thing about kids. They have energy.
Yes. So it was quite amazing. They're really amazing kids.
How did they do in the filming? I mean, you said, kind of putting children and animals in one kind of very hard to control in a sense. Were they hard to kind of direct?
Yes. I think it was very different when you work with kids. You have to be very patient, and you can't force anything. So I had to just sort of everything. And of course, they don't understand what we're doing. They know that we're making a film, but they don't know what is the story or what is happening. So you sort of have to go from just dialogue by dialogue and frame by frame. You sort of have to guide them through. And so it's a very different process.
Now, I know that along with this very successful movie, the Turtle Soup or Canh Ba Ba, you have just been to the Cannes Festival. That's amazing. Congratulations. How was that?
It was a wonderful experience, and I was really honored to be there. My film is very small, and it was the screening was in Short Film Corner, just for short films, and it was a very small screening. But it was a wonderful experience and very inspiring to meet all the other filmmakers. It's great.
Going back now to the Canh Ba Ba, it was listed in the heist film category.
Yes.
Do you remember what you kind of made in order to make it stand out, or what did you think made your film stand out from others in the 48-hour film project in general of Ho Chi Minh City?
I don't know what made it different, but I think from my point of view, I think I always try to make films that are very personal to me, and also I try to make it as simple as possible, just a very, very, very simple film, and so in that way it could be different.
What kind of challenges did you run into? I mean, obviously the 48 hours were a big challenge considering how short it was.
You know, in any film production, I think we never have enough time. So for 48-hour films, in just 2 days, it's just really madness. And I think, you know, it's like running around with the head on fire. There's no time to think. There's no time to change. There's no, you know, you just keep going. You know, come rain or thunder, and so yeah, it was really crazy. But we had to keep everything flexible. You know, I think it rained. There was a big thunderstorm in the middle of the film, and then we had to change our story according to that. And whatever, and then it got very dark suddenly because of the thunderstorm, and we had to change our story again. So yeah, so that we had to always keep flexible and run with whatever happens because there's no time to stop anything. So that was the biggest challenge.
Any memorable kind of stories that you still keep with you today? I mean, kind of accidents behind the stage that people don't know about.
I think there are many. I think the two kids actually. Initially when I wrote the story, the little girl was the main character. The boy was the secondary character. But the little girl couldn't stop giggling. Every time we say action, she used to start giggling and just falling on the ground. We were running out of time, so then I said, okay, we have to change. Let's switch the characters, rewrite the story. Let's make the boy the main character. And then the turtles. We had two turtles, and we had a lot of difficulty handling the turtles because they were restless, and we didn't want them to die. And
obviously you're not animal, control experts.
And we actually rescued those turtles from the market that morning. Yeah, I think they were all wrapped up to sell.
So turtles were actually
saved.
Yes.
And then while shooting actually, so we had two turtles. The one was a little bit more difficult. So
like the children.
Like the kids. So actually we named the turtles after the kids afterwards. So
what are their names?
Hao and Tam.
Hao and Tam.
So we named the little bit more difficult turtle Tam.
The turtle that giggles like the girl, and the other quiet turtle as the boy.
So that was very sweet, and so that was very memorable for everyone.
Oh, I really hope you do get to find Hao and Tam wherever they are out there. Let's move on to talk more about your film. The film the year before that, 2010, also joined in 48-hour film project, and it also won. It won the Special Jury Award in Vietnam, and the film was The River. Now tell us, what is this movie about?
So again, it's a very simple film. It's about a kid who lives on the river outside of Saigon, and he finds a woman floating down the river one day, and then he rescues her, and then they form a sort of a spiritual bond between the two.
Chị ấy là một linh hồn thật tốt.
What kind of film was it this time? What was the category?
Yes, our category was actually a love story.
Love story.
Yes. And when people look at this film, they say, oh, it doesn't, it's not really a traditional sort of love story, and it's not a romance story. But it is, because I was thinking in a deeper level, it is between the bond between the spiritual connection between two people, and so it is sort of a love story.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes your film special, in that, people come in thinking that it's a heist film, thinking of jewelry robbery or bank robbery, but they come out, coming to save turtles, or going into a love film thinking that it's traditional love, but it ends up being a spiritual bonding between a kid and a woman. So I think it gives a surprising factor.
Vào mùa mưa, ông em nhìn thấy một con hổ trôi trên dòng sông. Khi tôi nhìn thấy chị ấy, tôi đã nghĩ ngay về con hổ của ông. Chị ấy là một con hổ thật đẹp mà không thuộc về nơi này. Chị có sao không? Chị?
Mọi thứ thật là tối tăm và chị đã bị ngộp nước. Lúc đó chị đã nghĩ đây là giây phút cuối của đời mình. Nhưng như có một sức mạnh nào đó làm chị muốn sống lại.
Có đôi lúc khi tôi ở tận cùng đáy sông, tôi đã có cảm giác sợ hãi. Người đánh cá nói là những linh hồn trong sông nước thường hiện lên đùa giỡn với mọi người. Có lẽ chị ấy là một linh hồn thật tốt.
We can see that the actors that you normally work with, they're mostly amateurs.
Yes,
And
yes,
for this woman, it was her first time.
Yes.
The kids, obviously, they have no background in this.
Yes.
Is that kind of something, mandatory for the project? Or is it just something that you aim for as a part of your film?
Yes, I think it's not a mandatory thing, but I think it's something that I really like. When I make film, it is, I don't have any strict plans. I just go with the flow. And with the real people, I think sort of usually it's two-way because they inspire my story. So it's better for me to find real people and instead of actors, and because then it's sort of we're making films together as we go.
Right, and it also becomes more or less like semi-documentary as well, because you're working off of the characteristics of the people you meet, which is amazing. And it's a way for you to explore Ho Chi Minh City too, right?
Yes, definitely.
Now tell us, let's go back to the very beginning. How did you become a filmmaker? Long story.
So, yeah, I think I was born in India. I grew up in India. As you know, India is the land of Bollywood. so I
Whereabouts?
In northern India,
Northern
in
India.
Dharamsala, which is in the Tibetan community up in northern India.
Dharamsala.
And, so yeah, I grew up in a monastery, actually. All of my childhood, I spent in the monastery. But even then, I think there were a lot of young monks in the monastery, and we were all crazy about movies. We watched a lot of movies, and Bollywood movies, and I knew from a very young age that I wanted to make films.
Wow.
But I say I was just a little boy from the mountains, and I think in Bollywood movies they're so epic. It's like fantasy movies, and they're almost like made by gods.
They're
so
extremely kind of also very ostentatious in a way. It's very
It's just a completely different world.
Yeah, very sparkling.
Yes. So yes, I always wanted to be a filmmaker, but it was almost impossible. Because
Seems like a far-fetched dream.
Yes, definitely. And much later in life, I think I saw films, the other filmmakers, beyond Bollywood. So films like, I think there's from an Indian film director called Satyajit Ray, and Japanese director called Ozu, and Bresson from France, and these directors, they made films that are very simple and very minimal and almost like a meditation, and they really cut through me like a knife, and I said, okay, now I can become that kind of a filmmaker. So these are the kind of films that I want to make.
Yes.
And it's not, I think
Seems
something
more, close to heart,
Yes.
basically. So how did you kind of jump from being, as you said, a boy from the mountain, living in a monastery, to making your first film?
Yes, I was living in a monastery in India, and then I kept delaying to become a monk.
You didn't feel right.
Yes, and then, you know, as I grow older and older, I think my parents keep hoping that, okay, maybe after 3rd grade, maybe after 4th grade, maybe after 5th grade. So you know, they keep delaying it. And then I went to a boarding school. And so I sort of escaped for a little while from the monastery. And then after boarding school, I won a nationwide contest in India from Microsoft. And
wow.
yes, and the award was to go to America. So that landed me in America. And so I completely escaped from the monastery.
Yes. Do you remember the very first film you made?
Yes, I think because I think I started out of making animation, you know, because I think I mean, back then, I think making film was too complicated because, you know, I think equipment, they're expensive, and so animation is something you can just, you know, draw and you can just do it.
And you had a background in fine arts as well.
Yes, yeah. And I think my first film, I don't know, I don't know if it's okay to say it on TV, but you know, I was in boarding school in India. There's always a power shortage. So and so we were studying late one night, and there was a power shortage, and there was no accident. We were burning candles, but somehow we had a lens, you know, one of those was from science lab, one of those sort of lens.
Like a microscope.
Yeah, microscope lens, yeah, something like that. And then so I was playing around with it, and they say, oh, it projects the candle onto the wall.
Oh.
You know, so I said, oh, that's interesting. So then I made this sort of a projection where I drew this sort of series of drawings on tape, you know, in a sellotape. You know,
yeah, like a reel.
Yeah, like a reel. And it was basically, you know, we were just boys, so it was just really a woman taking off her shirt. There was a big head in the boys' hostel. so I caught everyone and I had to draw.
Oh,
you know, it was
wow.
actually on a toilet paper reel. The roll, you know, it was rolled around the toilet paper.
Oh,
and
creative!
It was on the chair, so you had the thing at the bottom. So I would slowly go up, and all the boys came, and we watched this, you know, this sequence. So that was my first film.
Wow! So you were 14, 15, maybe?
Yes,
yeah. Wow! But you know, that's very creative, and you know, we'll see how that kind of connects with another project that you're doing. No. With a filmmaker here in Vietnam. But
yes.
Talking about Vietnam, let's talk about what brought you to Vietnam in the first place.
Oh, a film actually, another film. So I was living in the East Coast after dropping off from college. I was just doing my own things, and then one day I saw a Vietnamese film. Called from Chan An Hung, The Vertical Ray of the Sun.
Oh yes,
yes,
The Vertical Ray of the Sun.
You know, I remember thinking, wow, you know, I never imagined Vietnam in this light. You know, it's such a beautiful film. And then the very next day, I received a phone call from a friend, you know, from Vietnam. And you know, he was traveling around here, and he met some people who wanted to start a film production company, and they needed help. So he called me up and said, are you available? I said, this must be a sign, because it's so random, because you know, I just saw a movie and I was thinking about Vietnam and you called me. So it must be a sign. So I packed up and came over.
Wow, when was that?
That was 2003.
2003, so 9 years now.
Yes.
Wow.
So then I got, you know, I came here and I fell in love, and I'm still here.
Yes, and you're based in Ho Chi Minh City, and
yes.
You've been there for the past 8 years. So what is it that has kept you here in Vietnam, do you think, as a place for you to kind of develop your careers? I mean, you've been here for almost a decade now, so there must be something.
No, I think that there must be something. I always think about that, because I think, for me, you know, as a Buddhist, I think I always think that maybe there must be some sort of a karmic connection with this land for me. So that, because I never imagined that I will be living in Vietnam and for this long, and I love it so much. But I really think that I must have some sort of a deeper connection with this land, because and I'm still here, and I really love this place.
Wonderful. Well, I think Vietnam loves you too, with your film and the films that you've made, as a way for you to kind of connect to the Vietnamese people and also explore their way of life. Now, you said, we saw in the introduction about you that you have a very deep interest in collecting stories about Vietnam.
Yes.
Tell us about this interest and what is it? What are some of the stories that you seek for in Vietnamese daily life?
Since 2003 in Vietnam, it's changing very fast. I think so. For me, it's just trying to find things that are disappearing. I think people are always really dazzled by all the development, but there are a lot of things that we lose in the shadows.
Exactly.
So I'm always trying to find stories or people that are disappearing, or a culture or some sort of tradition that are disappearing. Yeah, so I'm just always reading newspapers and always asking around and trying to find materials or trying to find stories or people to meet just for coffee or something.
Tell us about a story that has struck you of recent in Ho Chi Minh City.
Yeah, in Ho Chi Minh City, the character, there's a letter writer in the post office.
Oh yes.
Yes, yeah, and he's.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, I think it's and the post office is a very old post office, and it's just it's a beautiful post office.
French architecture, yes.
Yeah, it's quite spectacular, and then you go in there, and then it's busy, and everybody's running around. And then there's this old man sitting there, and he writes letters for people in English, French, and Vietnamese, and he reads letters for people. And he's very old, and in this day and age, when everybody's emailing and text messaging, and I don't remember the last time I received a letter actually from anyone. So, but he's there, and he's waiting for somebody to come, and he will read for you or he'll write for you, and people use him still. Some people write to their lovers, and so students come to help for their essays, and he's 85 years old now.
85 years old.
And he was long retired. I think 10 years ago. Officially, he was retired, but he loved doing it so much. He's still there. He's still doing it. And he's been doing it since he was 16. So his whole life he's spent in the post office. The thing is, after he's gone, that position is gone because it's no longer needed anymore.
As you said, disappearing.
It disappears. So for me, when I saw him, it was the question of if one day if he's not there, will anyone miss him?
Well, talking about the different stories that inspire you, I know that your most recent film project was also with an old man out here. He's called the Projector Man. He has his own little mobile kind of camera, kind of film. Very, I'll let you tell the story. But his name is Mr. Nguyễn Văn Long in Vạn Phúc Village. Tell us about this man and what is it that he does?
Oh yes, so he's another unique character, I think. I heard about him. Well, I read about him a long time ago. I think I was flying in Vietnam Airlines or something, and then it was an article in the Heritage magazine.
Yes, Heritage.
Yes, I remember from the very first moment I knew that he's a very unique character, and he was always in my mind over the years, and I really wanted to meet him, but I got busy with work, and I never got a chance really to come to Hanoi to meet him in person. And then recently I heard that that he stopped doing it, because his health is not good.
He's older now.
He's older now, and he cannot really do it anymore. And I think his family and his doctors and everyone said you cannot go out anymore. So I heard that from someone, and I said that is very sad. And so I said I must immediately go up to Hanoi and meet him. And I didn't know that I was going to make film or not. I just wanted to meet him because he was in my mind for so long. And so then I went to his home and I met him, and then I said, well, I'm here, so I just want to talk to you for a few days and to really learn about your life. And then, if you don't mind, then maybe I'll take some footage and maybe we'll create something together. But we'll see, because for me, he's an artist, and people call him the projector man, or people call him that old man in the park, or all these things. But really, he's an artist, and he's been. If you go to his home, He has just piles of drawings and little animations and all these things that he created over the years. And he's been doing this almost all of his life. You know, all of his life he's been just going to the park and entertaining kids and adults. And it's all these things that he made himself and all these drawings and stories that he created. So he's really an artist. So I wanted to basically pay homage to him as an artist and as a storyteller and sort of celebrate him. So I said, yes, I was here for a week, and then I talked with him for 2 or 3 days, and I said, let's spend 2 days together and we create something, we make something. And he understood right away because he's himself a filmmaker and storyteller, so let's do something together. So that's how we ended up making that film.
And the following part, we're going to follow Sering to his trip to Vạn Phúc Village in his making of the film of Mr. Văn Long. So let's join him in the following.
Turing and his colleagues start filming Nguyễn Văn Long at his home village of Vạn Phúc when he has already stopped storytelling in the park due to bad health. Previously, Mr. Long has spent most of his life entertaining kids and adults through his homemade films and comics in the parks of Hanoi. A lot of other crews had featured him and his unique job on their reports or documentaries before, but this is the first time such a fictional film had been made about him as a real person.
We're shooting this whole film basically with his family members. So the main 2 actors, Mr. Nguyễn Văn Long and his granddaughter, plays the little girl, and her mother, who plays her mother, is her real mother. This is a family film. So it's really basically a film. One storyteller to another storyteller is a tribute for him.
The short film is about a little girl waiting for her mother after school and meeting with Mr. Long, the storyteller, in the park. Enchanted by the way he tells stories, she returns every day to listen to him.
Các răng vút từ cành nọ sang cành kia. Con voi mang hoa quả ra nuôi. Con khỉ mang hoa quả ra nuôi.
One day she comes and he's no longer there. She then uses his gift to tell the stories to her friends as a hint at the continuity of the tradition.
Hãng phim của Lossy giới thiệu bộ phim Các răng chuyển từ cành này sang cành khác. Các răng giết cặp
I don't think there will be another storyteller in a park telling stories like this to kids. So this is sort of, for me, it is sort of capturing something that is it's sort of my memories of Vietnam and what I thought was, if I leave Vietnam, what will stay in my mind.
The way Turing directs and puts all of his efforts in making every detail impresses those working with him.
Anh Sering này thì như thế là có một cái tâm huyết nghề nghiệp và tìm tòi sáng tạo. Anh ấy có một cái chỉ đạo diễn xuất rất là chu đáo và nó có cái tình tiết, có một cái kịch tính trong đó và kể cả thể hiện những tình cảm nó rất là sâu sắc.
Cách của anh Sering làm phim thì rất là mềm mỏng, dịu dàng. Nói chung là anh ấy cũng rất là, mặc dù là khác cái nền văn hóa nhưng mà anh ấy cũng rất là biết cái cách làm việc đối với người Việt Nam. Thì rồi cái cách mà bản thân cái người làm nghề ấy, thì anh ấy cũng rất là sáng tạo. Nhiều khi anh ấy rất là tùy vào tình huống, rất là thông minh, là nghĩ là làm sao để mình tận dụng cái điều kiện, cái hoàn cảnh sẵn có.
As this is his own project, Turing does almost everything, from writing to shooting and even editing. The story of Mr. Long is only a part of a series about unique individuals in Vietnam doing the work no one does anymore. Turing considers them his love letters to the country he calls a second home.
This project, and I don't have any deadline or anything because this is a personal project, so I'll just, as long as I live in Vietnam, I'll just keep making these for myself.
Hãng phim Moscow giới thiệu bộ phim siết ảo thuật. Có một chú thỏ đi qua anh trống, tong 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 tong. Thế là thói nhìn theo chú thỏ, đi theo chú thỏ nhảy múa hát ca, đi giữa hai hàng của điểm khang trang. Yeo 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 yeo. Ta đen ta đen ta đen ta đen ta đen ta đen. Wow 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 wow. Wow, 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 wow. Cho anh xem kẹp có ngon không ạ? Kẹp có ngon không cháu?
Không ngon lắm á.
Đấy. Giao, 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 giao. Nhà ngươi hãy về tâu với nhà vua, làm cho ta một con ngựa sắt, ta sẽ ra đánh giặc cứu nước. Từ đó nhân dân ta tôn làm thánh gióng. Hết phim.
Could you tell us a little bit more about, through films like this, what kind of this film, what is the audience that you're targeting, or is it just kind of society? And I mean, or a message like, take a look at this man. I mean,
yes.
he could be gone next day, and
yes,
you should remember people like
yes,
that.
Yes.
Is that the general message?
Yes, I think, I was not really thinking about the audience, because it was, with this film and all of the films, they're very personal to me. So I was just really making them for myself. And for this film was really, it was just my connection with him. I was sort of trying to tell his story. He's a storyteller, so I was trying to interpret his story in the story, and he acted it himself. So it was just, for me, it was just a personal thing. But the main thing is, I think, as an audience, if people watch it, it's really to say that, yes, I think it is a sad thing that he stopped doing it. But in the broader sense, it's not sad, because art, it moves on. I think it passes on. So in the story, we had the little girl, and she becomes sort of next generation. She sort of carries on the thing. So the main idea is that I think it's never a waste. All the things that he did, even if people don't know him, or people forget about him, or he disappears, I think art, lives on. Exactly. And so his work will always live on in other people, all the children, who listened and who watched his films. Yeah. So there was sort of celebration of his work.
And he inspired you,
yes,
as part of this personal experience.
Definitely.
I mean, did he revive that passion for animation in you?
Yes, definitely. I think it's very, it's just meeting him and just working with him. It was very inspiring.
Tell us, what is it that you're doing as your main job in Ho Chi Minh City now?
I do TV commercials.
Commercials, also connected to creating stories.
Yes, definitely. It's a different kind of stories, but yes, definitely.
On a commercial life.
Commercials. Yes.
And I'm sure you kind of reserve time to kind of stick to your passion of filmmaking too.
Yes, I try to. It's very difficult, I think, but I try my best to have some time to think of my own things.
Yes. Well, how do you find the working environment in Vietnam? I mean, being here for that number of years now, you must kind of know the back doors and of everything now. What is it like, the environment?
No, I think it's the longer I live here, I think it gets easier and easier. I think because I'm an Asian, and I think so in Vietnam I feel right at home, and I think the Vietnamese culture is very similar to Tibetan culture, and in the family and all the structure, everything is very similar. So I really don't feel much difference, even doing business or friendship, or just everything is very similar. So I feel right at home.
Now, I've learned that, through all the films, like The Turtle Soup, The River, or A Tale from Vạn Phúc about Mr. Van Long, you took the inspiration from the ordinary people you meet. You said with Mr. Long, the letterman in Ho Chi Minh City, you meet with them, and whatever it is that you feel in this personal connection with them, you may get the inspiration within your film. How do you kind of hope to portray Vietnam through these films? Or maybe it's not like a goal of yours, but...
Yeah, I mean, I try not to think in that way. But as I said, for me, it's very personal. And I also think of it as, I fell in love with this land, and felt this connection with people here. So these films are sort of my own sort of love letter to Vietnam. And, you know, they're celebrating Vietnamese people, you know, from my point of view. Yeah.
That's a very sweet way of putting it. Do you plan to kind of join in this year's 48-hour film project, because you've already kind of joined in too?
No, I think I was just actually before I was, you know, on this show, I was talking to Ross Stewart, who organized the 48-hour film project, and you know, I wanted to say that, you know, 48-hour film project has done amazing things for the local the filmmaking community. I think this is one of the only sort of platform for the young filmmakers to, you know, to participate, to show their work. And so I think, and so I really want to continue to support Ross and continue to support the 48-hour film project in Vietnam. So I think this year, I think I will probably just sponsor maybe other teams, younger teams who need help. That way, I want to be part of it, but not make film this year. But yes. I really want to support something.
Kind of being in the supporting side,
yes.
Kind of mentoring maybe.
Yes.
Talking about, you know, a forum for younger filmmakers, yes. Being, you know, I think for many young filmmakers watching right now, yes. You are a model of success, basically. What advices would you give to them? Yes. I mean, if they were to come to you and say, you know, what is it? How do we do it?
I think just go out and make films. I think it's really simple. I think nowadays, you know, we don't have any excuse because, you know, the cameras are very cheap and everything is easily available. And I said, you know, even if you don't have a camera, if you look at Mr. Long, you know, he made things out of nothing. So there's no excuse. So you basically just go out and make films and participate in this year's 48-hour film project.
Yes. I mean, if you have a passion and if you have, you know, just a dying passion ever since you were young, like sharing to make films, then do out there to join the 48-hour film project. And there's no excuse not to. Well, thank you, Sharon, for coming onto our show, sharing your passion with filmmaking, and sharing, you know, your passion with collecting the different wonderful stories that you find here in Vietnam. We hope that you continue to find that passion here in Vietnam.
Thank you very much.
And all of the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you.
And that also wraps up our edition of Talk This Week. Our talk was with Surin Giltung, as he has shared with us his passion in filmmaking and his love for Vietnam and its stories. Do join us next week for another edition. We'll see you more next time. Goodbye.